You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I hope, wherever you are in the world and whatever you're doing doing very well. What you're about to listen to is a conversation between two blokes who are working musicians in the town of Brisbane. One of those guys is me. The other one is Dave Power. You'll learn all about Dave and his excellent music through the conversation, so let's cut straight to it. Here he is, Mr. Dave Power. You are the sort of singer that makes people want to give up singing, such as the timbre of your voice and the delivery. I've got to say, mate, I was mightily impressed, and I hadn't heard of you before, to be honest with you, but when I listened to your music, I love that blues rock thing that you're doing, and I know there's a bit of country through it.
Really? No, look, I'm absolutely bloody stoked that you even considered to speak to me, to be honest. So, yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No, look, Lee sends me through quite a bit of stuff, and I'm always interested to hear new sounds. But, look, I spoke to a bloke called Johnny Taylor, who you probably know over in Western Australia.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I saw that on your site. Yeah. I'm familiar with him.
Yeah, good bloke, wonderful bloke. And I think I always look at who could work with who in terms of a tour or run of shows. You guys together, mate, would be a fantastic double bill.
Is that right? Well, mate, I shall get in touch with him. Because I think it was either Lee or Adam might have said that he might have been a good one to tour with. So, yeah, I'll definitely stay in touch with him.
I mean,
he's in a yeah, thanks for the tip. He's in a very different circumstance. He can tour freely. I'm sort of shackled here a little bit.
Yep.
But if he's ever in Queensland or Northern New South Wales, I'll grab him.
Yeah, sure. Please. Yeah, if you can try. I mean, there are so many wonderful artists out there. You know, Ben Kelly is another one, but I think Johnny and your music, there's a lot of synchronicity there. Now, the reason I bring up Johnny is I'm not a country fan at all. Okay, I love the blues, I love funk, I love jazz, I love disco, but country, mate, it's a bit like rap for me. I just don't go near it. But because I've got the two young girls, mate, and I tend to put on this music in the background as I'm entertaining them and going about daily chores, you know, the household tasks and all that sort of stuff. The music, I found I could keep it on, you know, with his stuff. And I've only got the one track of yours, I've got to tell you. Lee only sent me, he didn't send me the EP. He sent me Close Behind. So I've probably listened to that, mate, about 20 times so far. So
cool.
He sent it to me about a fortnight ago or last week or whenever it was. But,
fantastic.
Mate, what was the inspiration behind creating that style of music?
Well, I mean, in terms of the theme, I'll just run back a little bit in the past. I wrote a song for my son. So I've got 4 kids. I've got a 14-year-old, 12-year-old, 9-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And a few years ago, I wrote one for my boy, and it was called Hey Little Boy, and it was on a previous EP that I released, sort of folky, sort of, rolling sort of tune, and he loved it. And I guess that I never really found a good way to tell the girls how I really felt, because I think that, you know, being girls, it's a different relationship. They're in a different space in my heart. So anyway, I kind of had the hint from my eldest and said, you know, come on, Dad, we'd love one from you too. So it just popped into my head when I was cruising off to work one day, and I just, I guess as a songwriter, you find inspiration in the weirdest of sort of places. I used to ride my bike to a job, and I'd have this idea, and I'd just pull over on the side and record it on my message bank, you know, and try and...
I've done that. I know exactly what you're doing, yeah.
I think that's really cool. I mean, I've actually listened back to some of those messages recently on that song, Close Behind, and just it's so nice to see how it evolves. And, I did that project here in my little studio downstairs, and I've got a couple of guys in the UK who I'm really good friends with. Never met them, but they do drums and bass for me, and I found a fantastic guitarist who did some lead work for me on that one. I mean, I would love to be at that caliber. I'm not quite there. I'm more of an acoustic guitarist, but I'm slowly getting up to speed with the electric blues. And
okay.
But he helped me out with the guitar on the lead, even though I could probably pull it off if I tried. But I just needed someone with that caliber. And I sort of mixed it together and produced it here at home. Recorded all the rest of the bits and pieces, and it just happened to come together, I think, pretty nicely. And look, I'm really proud of that one. It's some songs you do and you think, that's not really how I kind of anticipated that would turn out, but it's a pretty song. It's a nice song, but it's got a little bit of a grungy edge to it. But it's a nice little tune. Yeah.
Well, look, on the song again. So the media pack that Lee sent me states that Close Behind takes yourself, that's Dave, on a journey from father to grandfather. There's a bit of another quote there. Now, when I read that, I just finished having a discussion with John Garcia from Caius, who's Caius had to be probably one of my favourite rock bands of all time, and my discussion with John was very similar to. He described his life as being very similar. As it turned out, a lot of the lyrics in that wonderful song of yours, Close Behind. So,
is that right?
Yeah, it's an interesting bit of synchronicity. Sometimes the universe gives you these things and you make these links and you don't have to work too hard for it, is what I'm saying. They're just there.
Yeah.
But I think it's really... I'm in a similar position to yourself, as I've mentioned. I've got the two girls, but you're incorporating, your evolution as a human being. So now your role as you're a careerist, as we've discussed, but most importantly, no doubt you're married and you've got your family, and that is making its way into your narrative in the same way that when I was talking to John, he's over there in Joshua Tree in California. He didn't say that it was infiltrating his music, but he says it was a big inspiration behind him continuing to perform. So,
yeah.
And my broader point would be, and I made it to John, so regular listeners to my program will have already heard this bit here, but I get fed up with musicians and the Peter Pan syndrome. Meaning, I went to a rehearsal not too long ago, and the band up there at where was it? Zetland, I think. Zilmere, sorry. And they're passing around a bottle of Fireball rum. Now, I'm not judgmental, but I don't think I can be around people like that at this point in my career as a musician. You know what I mean? I have to be around people that have got similar values, and that's not me being judgmental. It's just what I know is going to work for me in terms of relationships in my life. And to a broader extent, I'm starting to look for music like the wonderful music that you're creating, because it's also synchronous to the way I want to lead my life in terms of the message that you've got through your lyrics.
That's exactly my perspective too, mate. I mean, you change, don't you? I mean, over the years, you were probably one of the guys passing around Fireball rum as I was. It's just, I don't know. For me, I've just turned 40, and I feel actually musically the best I've ever felt, and I feel like I've got, like you said, I think an insight into what's really important in life. It's not just I'm not discounting the younger acts who sing about whatever, but I think experience has a lot to be said for, and when you can listen to someone sing something and say, well, I believe what he said. I think that he's lived that, and hell, I can relate to it, as you've mentioned. And there's so much more substance to it, and that's why I really, at this point in my life, and I was kind of the same as you, I hated country until a few years ago when a friend of mine who plays in a country band introduced me to it, and I gradually grew to really love it, because that, and obviously the blues, singer-songwriter, folk, that sort of, those genres they just have more substance and depth, and I relate more to them now. I still love, occasional pop if you're in the right mood, or rock or whatever. But it just depends, doesn't it?
Yeah, it depends on your mood, I suppose, too. I mean, what I've found that I've done as I've gotten older is I've become intensely interested in jazz, like, John Coltrane and those sorts of people.
Oh, God, yeah.
I'm
Miles, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not an intellect, right? So I don't want you to think I sit down notating music whenever I'm playing it, because I don't. I play by ear for the most part, and I write the chords.
Me too, mate. I've never learned how to read music or anything like that.
Yeah, so I just find that I get into jazz and funk, I'm intensely interested in it, and in terms of understanding where the artist is coming from. Miles and all of those guys, I just find whenever I'm home, that's what I listen to. I put on those vinyls. Now, I can't play that music, and I wouldn't try, because you've got to be very technically proficient to do it. But yeah, so you're talking about country. Was it the themes and the narrative in the lyrics of country songs that drew you to it, or was it just you got to a stage where you thought, I'm going to give this a go, and persevered with it and thought, yeah, okay, I understand it now?
Yeah, I guess, looking back at stuff that I've put out in the past, I kind of felt like my music didn't really, because I guess I didn't really copy off anybody. What I put out, look, it didn't really fit in a genre, and I've been baffled for many years to try and figure out where the hell does this thing sit. I mean, is it folk? Is it pop? Is it rock? What the hell is it? Alternative seems to be a good category to sort of dump stuff in. But I mean, I'm sort of finding more, because I had a lot of comments back saying, oh yeah, your voice would have suited the the 90s or whatever. So it's not really, I mean, my voice is certainly not really the normal indie sort of scene at the moment. So I don't know. I stumbled on the country, like I said, through a friend, and just through a coincidence, and yep, picked up the message, and and sort of that pulled me initially, and then I guess look, I'm a big fan of all sorts of country. Like, you know, I don't mind the bluegrass stuff. You know, in certain doses. You know, some of the older stuff, even some of the newer stuff. You know, some of the kind of the meaningless sort of pop where there's a grinding beat behind it. There's a predictability. Like a lot of these things sound exactly the same, but still, I don't know. There's something in there that it kind of draws me, and I think that maybe my style sits in that genre more than anything else. So maybe that's what's attracting me. I guess the songs I write would most likely be dropped in there if it was accompanied with the right instruments and with the right production.
Yeah. And mate, your voice is incredibly strong. I've got to hand it to you. I don't think I've heard a local voice like yours. You know, there's whatever his name, Carter, is, that does the Cole Chisler show. Your voice reminded me a bit of him. But you've been singing, I take it, your entire life?
Mate, I've been gigging around Brisbane doing a lot of cover stuff, the occasional, occasional original stuff, mostly covers, just purely to make a few bucks, to get a bit of, you know, have a bit of fun, get out there and play in pubs and whatever else for the last, I guess, probably 17 years or so. And I kind of just fell into it. My fiance at the time, we used to go to a Thai restaurant, and there was a guy playing guitar in the corner, and she said, "Why don't you go and do better than that?" And I said, "Oh, okay, sure." And I sort of, you know, developed a repertoire, started writing more songs, so mixed it up with covers, originals, all that sort of stuff, and I kind of developed a style, I guess, out of performing other people's music live, and you know, I mean, my voice was always okay. I'd never really done much with it apart from just a lot of practice. I mean, there was a point earlier on I was playing 4 gigs down at, you know, the old pavilion at West End. I'd play there one night and go do the markets the next day, and then bloody Runcorn Tavern or something like that. And so I do 4 gigs a weekend, and I had 2 little toddlers and work full time. And I remember I was coughing up blood, you know, at the end of the weekend from laryngitis. It was that bad, but I just did it because I just loved it, and you know, I think that developed my style, you know, endlessly. You know, just the way that I never have learnt to use a pick. I just I finger pick and strum with my fingernails. So I think there's a kind of a beauty in developing your own style through, I guess, the lack of education. You know, I mean, I learned how to play guitar from Tommy Emmanuel videos when I was 14. I'd just be sitting there watching it and learning how to play Blue Moon with, you know, with my crappy little guitar that I'd found in my mum's room. You know, so I think that's kind of a nice way to learn and kind of develop. And I have no idea where this conversation started, actually. What was I trying to answer? What question was
I think you got a beautiful voice, mate. I've got to hand it to you. I mean, I think what you've established through that conversation as well is that you've been doing the rounds in the Brisbane cover scene, as have I been, since about 2008 or 9. So are you with John and the Gig Factory, or with Pushworth Maximise guys?
Yeah, man, I've worked with John Shelley for years and years, and Paul and those guys. I haven't done much of them for the last, I guess, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. I've worked with Chris Dillon at Rooster for a little bit, did some pig and whistles here and there. But mainly these days, it's all just word of mouth. I do a fortnightly gig at the Sherwood AFL Club. So we just get a horde of the local people just down there and, you know, drinking and watching the kids play on the oval, and we just have a great time.
I bet, yeah.
And that sort of thing floats my boat, you know, where, you know, I've put a band together. I used to play with a fantastic percussionist called Suzanne Hibbs, who plays around with a lot of the sort of the folk bands around town, and her and Jodie Murtha, I'm putting a band together, and we're going to start doing a few shows of original stuff. You know, just this sort of starting small, but I think there's good potential there to really try something a bit different, you know, and attract. You know, I think the market's there for it. I think that there are, like you mentioned, you know, there's a lot of people, you know, around our age or even much younger who really can see value in sort of that message and of experience. So I think, it's certainly worthwhile.
Yeah, so have you played RGs in the Valley? You've been on that circuit, I take it, in years gone by?
used to play at Queen's Arms quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Geez, I don't think I've ever played there. No, there's yeah. What other venues were sort of linked to that one?
Oh gosh, all around that. A lot of them have changed names now. Of course, there was Tempo up the
Yeah,
top, which was the Hacienda, I think, back in the day. I think I'm right in saying that. I mean, I could mention a venue and it's no doubt changed names. You know, the
probably.
Elephant
Yeah,
and Wheelbarrow, which is now just called the Elephant. I think it's just called the Elephant Arms these days.
yeah, yeah. No,
Um,
I've never played there, but yeah,
God, I remember back in the day, sort of 2009 and 10. God, it's not that long ago, but you know, when I say back in the day, it was the
yeah,
only time as a covers musician. I mean, I've been in originals bands, but that was the time when you legitimately felt like, I wouldn't say a rock star, but you felt a little bit important on those nights there because you were playing in front of 80 or 90 people, you know,
yeah,
and they were paying attention. They were paying
yeah.
attention to you.
Absolutely.
You could see
Yeah.
people up the back looking at you, and you saw people looking at your hands if you were doing something special on the bass. I used to try to sneak in a lot of funk bass stuff just to mix it up a little bit
Oh,
and do
that's cool.
Chili Peppers
Yeah,
stuff and all of that jazz, and not showing off, but I love disco and funk, right? So
yeah,
um,
yeah.
just trying to do, you know, so many times you complain to Sandman without you wanting to bloody put some slap bass in there. So I did.
That's awesome, man. You know, it's funny because I was at the Elephant a couple of months ago, and I spoke to the bar staff, and I said, well, you know, how was the band last night? And they said it was bloody awesome. The whole place just went off. So I reckon I mean, and I've spoken to other, venues, and it seems to be still alive. You know, even the cover stuff seems to be in certain little patches. People just really appreciate it. You know, and
Mm.
I've got to say, I've been doing the Brisbane marketplace over there at bloody Sherwood Road, you know, Rockley, for the
Sure.
last
Yep.
15 years or so. And I've got to say, I've done that probably 200 times, and that is probably my favourite gig, purely because, like you said, there's a sea of people walking past you, thousands, and they all really pay attention to you. So you really communicate with these people. I love those sorts of gigs. You know, the gigs that
Yeah.
yeah, you can really, really feel the energy coming back at you.
So have you done Night Quarter at all over there at Portside?
No, no.
You'd be awesome at that. Gosh, you'd go down and treat them. And some of the bands that I've seen there have probably not been appropriate music for the families and the like that are going around. They're a bit too heavy. But
Yeah,
occasionally they get it right and they get like a jazz-themed trio there who are doing jazz interpretations of modern pop and rock songs by Katy Perry or something like that. But your music, I think, you know, I could imagine sitting back and having a beer and a gourmet hot dog at 8 p.m. with my two kids, mate, listening to you play over there. I'd love to.
yeah,
If you
right.
could get onto that, mate, that'd be awesome.
What's it called?
Night Quarter over
Night
at
Quarter.
well, I know the one down here at Helensvale is called Night Quarter. I think it's called Night Quarter up there at Portside as well.
Okay,
There's a very good
that
one
sounds
actually. The
great.
one at Portside actually gets very busy, but
Yeah,
you know, it's a bit like going to the Ekka,
yeah, right.
but on a Friday or Saturday. I think it's only on Friday nights. We haven't been in a while.
It sounds very much like sort of a Eat Street sort of
Well,
realm,
that's
is
it.
it?
I'm sorry. It is called Eat Street up there, isn't it? I'm sorry. My
Ah,
bad.
right.
It's not called Night
Mate,
Quarter.
I would love to get in. Yeah, I'd love to get in there. They had actually Logan City Council had some awesome events they used to call it Eats and Beats. I don't know if they've still got it going, but I played there about half a dozen times, and that was awesome. They had probably 30 or 40 food trucks of every sort.
Yeah.
They had the whole thing going on. They had a stage with 6 different bands and artists all night. Yeah, that sort of thing is it's really hot. I think it's really working still
Yeah,
around town.
spot on. And just down here at Helensvale, the one down here at Helensvale is called Night Quarter, and the one at Portside is called Eat Street. If anybody's wondering,
Right.
the listener. Okay, so down here though, I noticed that they're getting touring bands to play there on Friday nights when they've got Night Quarter on. So
Are you joking?
You know,
Oh my
I
god!
spoke to who did I speak to? Was it Silverstein or Unwritten Law? You know, what are these pop punk bands that appeal to fairly the traditional rock audience, I suppose, but with a bit of an aging audience. I don't know how else to describe it, but Get Up Kids or Getaway Kids. I don't know all the names of the punk bands, but yeah, an American touring band is playing with an Australian band called Eat Your Heart Out. They're from Newcastle via Sydney, and she's telling me that they're playing at Helensvale, and I thought, wow, okay, I wonder where that is, and it turned out it was Night Quarter. So yeah, to your point, it's evolved.
Jeez.
Now that it's so it can pull that kind of a crowd. They're becoming venues as much
That
as
is
they
awesome.
are.
Absolutely, and I mean, I must say that I have tried to get in there, not that hard, but flicked a few people some emails, and yeah, it's pretty hotly coveted. So which is great, because you want to try harder to get to those gigs. So yeah, I'll have to look into it some more. That sounds awesome.
So just talking about your excellent music again, mate. If people want to find out more about you, of course, there's Facebook and the like. But have you got physical copy of you've got an EP out? Is that right?
Yeah, look, over the years, I've put out various bits and pieces. On Spotify, you can find 3 EPs and the latest single. And you can just search my name, Dave Power. And so what have I done? If I look back, my first EP back in 2008 was one called Addiction. That was with a local producer, James North, over in Taringa there. Fantastic producer, great work. Then I self-released a couple and self-produced a couple. So they're Looking Life in the Eye and Handful of Feathers.
Yep.
And the recent song. So yeah, look, jump on Spotify. If you want a hard copy, absolutely, I can send you out Handful of Feathers. I've got plenty of those in stock.
Yep.
The other guys, I don't think I have any left, but you can find them digitally all over the place.
But they're easy to find digitally, aren't they? I mean, most 99% repeat of people these days listen to things via Spotify or Apple Music. I think are really the big two. I know there are others out there, but they're the most convenient ones to plug into your screen on your Apple iPhone or whatever Android device you're using. So they're very easy to find, in other words, aren't they? If people want to go.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm as much as I, as a musician, I get bugger all from Spotify and those other, streams, but I don't really care that much. It's for me personally. I mean, it's a passion. I would love for more people to hear it and make millions from it, of course. But if that doesn't happen, it's just this is life. And if I can touch the heart of just one person, that's cool. Mm-hmm. But I listen to Spotify all the time, and I think it's a wonderful way to connect with artists, because you can find a hell of a lot of new stuff on there, through suggestions or whatever else, playlists. So I'm a big supporter.
Yeah, no, fair enough, mate. Mate, that's about it. Is there anything else you wanted to say to the listeners?
Look, I don't think so, but look, I'm really appreciative of you speaking to me tonight, Andrew. It's been a pleasure, mate. And I'd love to catch up with you sometime. And
you are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was my conversation with the excellent Dave Power. Thank you so much for listening.